Welcome again, everyone. On the last episode, we ended on the scientific correspondence between healthy cells and cancer.
And how it collaborates exactly with the concepts from A Gamer's Road to Damascus. Let's take this into a field of science we created.
Now let's move from cells to networks.
Network science discovered something deceptively simple. A system is not defined only by the quality of its individual parts. It is also defined by the pattern connecting them.
You can preserve every node in a network and still destroy the system by breaking the relationships between them.
Keep every computer. Remove communication. The network disappears.
Keep every neuron. Destroy coordinated signaling. The mind cannot function normally.
Keep every department in an institution. Destroy trust between them. The organization becomes incapable of coherent action.
So relation is not decoration added after the parts exist. Relation is constitutive of what the larger system is.
And suddenly the canon statement becomes much more precise. Coherence is not consistency inside isolated parts. It is consistency across relationships.
Meaning and consequence, authority and responsibility, information and action, individual and whole.
Break those couplings and a system can remain visually intact while becoming functionally dead.
Yes, a family can live in the same house and no longer be relationally alive. A government can preserve every office and lose legitimacy. A church can preserve every ritual and lose truth.
The nodes remain. The relation is gone.
That is the second proof of concept. Separation can destroy a system without visibly destroying its components.
Now let's go deeper. Because biology and networks explain why relation matters. But information theory gives us something even more interesting.
Every communication system requires an origin of information, a structured signal, a channel through which that signal travels, a receiver capable of interpreting it, and a destination in which the message becomes operative.
Again, this does not prove the Trinity. But look at the grammar. There is a source, there is an expressible pattern, and there is a relation carrying that pattern toward participation.
Remove the source, and there is no message. Remove the pattern, and there is only undifferentiated noise. Remove the channel, and the message remains isolated.
Source without pattern is inaccessible. Pattern without relation is isolated. Relation without source carries nothing.
The canon did not invent those dependencies. Communication engineering encounters them because intelligibility requires them.
And that's the third proof of concept. Information cannot become shared reality without source, structure, and relation.
Now we arrive at the most uncomfortable correspondence: feedback.
Every self-correcting system requires some way of detecting error. A thermostat must register temperature. A reactor control system must detect deviation. An organism must sense damage. A mind must encounter consequences.
Correction requires feedback. But what happens when a system begins suppressing the signals that reveal its error?
It becomes less correctable precisely as it becomes more wrong.
Precisely. The authoritarian removes critics. The addict avoids anyone who confronts the addiction. The corrupt institution punishes whistleblowers. The ideology labels contradictory evidence as enemy propaganda.
Each action protects the system's internal story and destroys its capacity to return to reality.
This is why the canon says sin cannot repair itself through greater self-authorship. The misaligned system filters out the very information required for repentance.
It cannot simply decide harder from inside the same closed loop. Something must reach it that the loop did not generate.
It needs a consequence, a truthful witness, a crisis, a person who refuses to participate in the lie, an external perturbation strong enough to cross the boundary.
The canon names that structural necessity grace.
Not because science has discovered divine grace in a laboratory, but because control theory makes the underlying problem visible. A system that suppresses corrective feedback cannot reliably generate correction from the corrupted feedback loop itself.
And that is the fourth proof of concept. A closed error-producing system may require intervention from beyond its present trajectory.
Now let's connect this to Christ, carefully.
In engineering, a proof of concept is not full-scale implementation. It is a successful instance demonstrating that a proposed mechanism is possible.
The first powered flight did not transport millions of passengers. It demonstrated that controlled powered flight could occur. The first transistor was not a modern computer. It demonstrated a principle that could later be scaled.
One successful instance changes the question. Before the demonstration, we ask, can science in principle prove it? After the demonstration, we ask, how can it extend our understanding theoretically?
This is exactly how the canon interprets the resurrection as firstfruits, if we look beyond the chosen vocabulary. The individual case precedes the general case. The pattern is demonstrated once, then extended to those participating in it.
Again, classical science does not prove that the resurrection happened. Historical evidence must address that question. But proof of concept logic explains what the event would mean if it occurred in principle.
It would not be an isolated magic trick. It would be the first successful instance of a general mechanism, coherence passing through death, without identity being erased, and embodied life being reasserted.
The claim is enormous, but its architecture is not meaningless. It follows a pattern science and engineering already understand: principle, demonstration, scaling.
And now the framework must risk making predictions, otherwise this remains a beautiful interpretation.
Here is one. Institutions that suppress truthful feedback, separate authority from consequence, and transfer failure downward should appear stable before they become fragile.
They should accumulate hidden debt, lose trust, become increasingly dependent upon control, and respond to criticism with accusation rather than repair.
By contrast, institutions where truth can travel upward, where authority carries responsibility, and where mistakes produce de-design rather than scapegoats, should recover from shocks more effectively.
That can be tested: employee retention, institutional trust, error reporting rates, crisis recovery, long-term survival.
And the framework can lose. If organizations that conceal error and displace cost consistently outperform transparent, responsibility-aligned systems over long time horizons, then the canon's prediction fails.
That sentence may be the most important one we've spoken, because a framework that cannot lose cannot teach us anything.
Exactly, it's a profound insight.
So we must embrace uncertainty to truly learn.
So what have we established today? Not that science proves Christianity,
But something more disciplined. The canon's central structures are not confined to theology. They correspond to observable mechanisms in biology, networks, communication, and control systems, without contradicting science.
the part that rejects the whole becomes destructive. The system that loses relation loses function. The message without a channel remains isolated. The closed loop that suppresses correction cannot heal itself. And one successful instance can establish a mechanism for later extension.
And so we are back at cancer, network failure,
Information loss.
feedback collapse, proof of concept.
Different sciences. One recurring grammar.
And now the question becomes difficult to avoid. How many independent correspondences must accumulate before resemblance becomes evidence of a deeper pattern?
Now, in the next episode, we follow the most severe claim in the entire canon. Nothing disappears merely because we refuse it, ignore it, or dismiss it.
Energy, waste, debt, trauma, and responsibility. How morality is in the middle of everything.
The substrates are different. But the question remains, where does the cost go? We leave you with this question.
Is morality the direction a choice gives its cost, born or displaced? Every choice roots weight somewhere, and the rooting must have a structural name. What is it?
Goodbye and see you next time.